Nigga, you don't want to try me. You ain't ready to die tonight. You ain't never died before. Bitch ass nigga, what's happening? Puss ass nigga. Cause I'm a dog on a lame ass nigga. I'm a dog on a whoever.
This is Linton Blackwell, a 24-year-old Atlanta rapper, father to twin daughters, and beloved community figure whose life would be violently ripped away on October 11th, 2025, in a barrage of gunfire that still echoes through Buckhead's streets. And every single one of those 17 bullets entered his body from behind. The question haunting Atlanta tonight, was this self-defense or was this an execution? Before we reveal the shocking autopsy findings that the police didn't want you to see, let me take you back to where this nightmare began, on a Saturday night that would end in tragedy. The clock had just struck 11:30 in the evening when Linton Blackwell, known to Atlanta's underground hip-hop scene as B Green, arrived at 5 Paces Inn with his friend William Stanley. Blackwell was at a bar enjoying the evening and socializing with friends. He grew up in East Lake Meadows public housing complex, a neighborhood so dangerous it earned him the nickname Lil Vietnam.
Look, man.
What you got there, B?
Boss called, boss fell, man. You know what I'm talking about?
What you got there, B?
We had $2 Tuesday, man. We the king good, man. You know what I'm talking about? And I brought the body with me, man. It's a casket, man. Give me a few pallbearers to carry this shit tomorrow, man.
He had survived the streets, built a music career, raised 15-year-old twin daughters named Destiny and Dynasty, and created a clothing line inspired by his roots. But on this particular night, none of that would matter. None of that would save you from what was coming. When Blackwell and Stanley walked through the doors of 5 Paces Inn, they encountered Officer Gerald Walker, an off-duty Atlanta Police Department officer working a security side job at the venue. Walker was identifiable by his APD emblem t-shirt, making it clear he wasn't just some random security guard. According to Stanley's account, Walker patted them down upon entry with no weapons detected at that time. They were clean, they were cleared, they should have been safe. But something happened inside that bar. An altercation erupted, though the details remain frustratingly murky, obscured by conflicting accounts and convenient gaps in the official narrative. What we do know is that Stanley didn't witness how it started, but when he turned his attention to the commotion, he saw Walker already involved. Blackwell was being escorted out. He was heading toward the rear parking lot, perhaps to cool down or just to get away from the confrontation. But what happened next is where the official story and witness accounts begin to diverge violently. The police would later claim that Walker was simply responding to a call about a disruptive patron, that he was doing his job, that he was following protocol. But witnesses, including Stanley, tell a completely different story. They allege that Walker chased Blackwell, like a predator stalking prey. In that parking lot, under the fluorescent lights and away from the crowded bar, Walker claims he observed Blackwell retrieve something from his vehicle and place it in the small of his back. He interpreted it, in that split second, as a firearm and as a justification for what would come next. Walker issued verbal commands related to a gun, according to the official report. Commands that Blackwell may or may not have heard or have time to process. Because what happened next was horrendous. Officer Walker opened fire, striking Blackwell approximately 17 times. Let that number sink in for a moment.
But we begin tonight with that Buckhead bar shooting. A local family speaking out after their loved one, 44-year-old Linton Blackwell, was shot and killed by an off-duty Atlanta police officer.
It happened around 11:30 that night on October 12th near the 5 Paces Inn bar in Buckhead.
I got my hands on the autopsy report, and it shows multiple gunshots in Blackwell's back and butt.
The Fulton County Medical Examiner's autopsy didn't just confirm what family members had suspected. It obliterated the notion that this was a face-to-face confrontation. The detailed autopsy report painted a horrifying picture: 2 wounds in the right upper back, 1 in the buttocks, and 14 in the mid and lower back. The medical examiner ruled the death a homicide.
14 shots to the back. How you justify that? There's no way you can justify that.
A handgun was indeed recovered at the scene, lending some credence to Walker's claim that he saw a weapon. But here's the critical question that authorities have conveniently failed to answer. Whose gun was it? Did it belong to Blackwell? And more importantly, authorities have not clarified if Blackwell ever pointed it at Walker. Given that every bullet entered from behind, the physics and geometry of the situation suggests that Blackwell couldn't have been pointing anything at anyone when Walker decided to empty his weapon. Blackwell was pronounced dead on site, and no injuries were sustained by the officer. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation would later issue a carefully worded preliminary statement noting Walker's response to an argument, his observation of the item placement, and the commands issued before firing. But what the GBI's sterile, bureaucratic language failed to capture was the human cost. To truly understand the weight of what was lost on October 11th, we need to understand who Linton Blackwell really was beyond the headlines, beyond the cold police reports, beyond the sterile language of official investigations. Because Linton Blackwell was not some nameless statistic or a threat neutralized. He was a man with a story, with dreams, with people who loved him and depended on him.
And he loved his family. He really loved his family. And he was well respected in the community. The community loved him. They respected him. He loved them. He gave respect. And he showed love to a lot of people.
Linton Blackwell III was born into one of Atlanta's most notorious housing projects, a place where survival or success wasn't guaranteed.
Rest in peace, my nigga Nut, man, out here 9-2 with this shit, you know what I'm talking. Most definitely, most definitely.
What's going on, bro?
Nut, yeah, long live Nut, the fuck you mean? Long live Nut, the fuck you mean, boy? Long
Shooter ain't shot nobody. I just like Jane got it. Yeah. You ain't real, you ain't fooling nobody. Them hoes, I'm shooter, ain't no shooter, ain't shot nobody.
Bring your mama and your sister. I just fucked your little sister. She just mad I ain't kiss her. She just kissed on that missile. That dick.
East Lake Meadows, or Lil Vietnam as residents called it, was a war zone in its own right. This wasn't a dramatic exaggeration. The nickname came from the very real dangers that lurked in every corner, the violence that erupted without warning. The housing project would eventually be demolished in the late 1990s, but by then it had already shaped the man Linton would become. Growing up in Lil Vietnam meant growing up fast, but Blackwell didn't just survive this environment. He refused to let it define him and channeled his experiences into music, entrepreneurship, and family life, transforming the pain and struggle of his childhood into something productive. His collaborations with established Atlanta artists like Trouble and Bankroll Fresh demonstrated his deep connections within the city's music scene. In 2018, he released Still Active, a mixtape with tracks like Intro, 16, and Stepson. In 2019 came Big Money, and 2020 brought 747, and in 2023, We Up arrived, a defiant statement that after all the struggles, all the losses, all the setbacks, he was still rising. But perhaps what defined Blackwell most wasn't his music or his street credibility. It was his role as a father to 15-year-old twin daughters, Destiny and Dynasty, whom he co-parented amicably with his ex-partner, Erica Boutry. He launched a clothing line inspired by his neighborhood, a brand that celebrated Lil Vietnam rather than running from it. Friends and relatives described him as a guiding light and source of strength, someone who embodied unity, love, and fairness while living life with passion and purpose. He was known for his generosity, often giving the shirt off his back to those in need. His cousin Marcus Harper would later praise Blackwell as one of my favorite rappers who carried our neighborhood on his back during a balloon release ceremony that drew dozens of mourners. The community's response to Blackwell's death was immediate and visceral. This wasn't just another police shooting. It was one of their own, taken in circumstances that defied any reasonable justification.
There's no way you can justify that. That was cold-blooded murder.
When you found out 14 times in the bag, what were you thinking?
First, I had to get over the anger, and I still ain't got over it. Because,
Jimmy Hill, Blackwell's cousin, became the voice of a family drowning in grief and rage. But Hill wasn't speaking from a place of ignorance about police violence. He had lived this nightmare before. In 2019, Hill lost his own son, Jimmy Atchison, to APD shooting, a case that was later dismissed under self-defense laws. Lightning had struck twice in the cruelest way possible, both at the hands of Atlanta police. Hill and others visited the Fulton County District Attorney's Office seeking updates, frustrated by the GBI's potential 6-month timeline.
Y'all folks ain't taking this shit serious, bro. This shit serious, bro. This shit serious, bro. G would've stood up for you, shout. G would've stood up for you, shout. G would've stood up for you, my nigga.
Timothy Coleman, Blackwell's manager and longtime friend, was unequivocal in his condemnation. He disputed the entire threat narrative that police were trying to construct, stating bluntly, "He chased him down and gunned him down. I want him locked up." APD publicly identified Walker on October 27, 2025, more than 2 weeks after the shooting, via an official statement and photo release. The department claimed this was necessary to counter social media misinformation about the shooting, but the delay itself raised questions. What took so long? What were they constructing while the community seethed with anger and demanded transparency? But it was too late for that, because the public had figured out what kind of cop Gerald Walker was. Walker had a troubled history, with prior disciplinary actions that included some of the most basic requirements of modern policing. Walker had 3 separate violations related to body-worn camera procedures. 3 times he failed to follow the standard operating procedures around these devices and making it impossible to have an independent record of his interactions with the public. Each of these violations was classified as Category B, with a 3-year reckoning period, meaning they were serious enough to remain on his record and potentially lead to termination if repeated. Is it a surprise that a cop who couldn't even adhere to simple body cam rules could shoot a man 17 times without clear reasons? But that wasn't all. Walker also had 1 Category B violation tied to standard arrest procedures, potentially involving improper handling or documentation during detentions, and 1 Category A violation, lower severity but still administrative in nature, the specifics of which remain undisclosed. These violations resulted in Walker being placed on probation, where any repeat offenses would elevate to the next category, potentially leading to suspension, demotion, or termination. But here's the thing about police probation. It rarely stops problem cops from continuing to work, continuing to carry guns, continuing to have power over citizens' lives. Walker was still on the street, working extra jobs at security, and in a position to make life or death decisions. During his probation, any repeat offenses would elevate to the next category, potentially leading to suspension, demotion, or termination. But that's a system that only works if officers actually face consequences before they kill someone. It assumes the violations will be caught and addressed before they escalate into tragedy. Public posts, including a video from Timothy Coleman, Blackwell's manager and longtime friend, allege Walker's involvement in aggravated assaults, 2 murders, and multiple harassment incidents, including claims of pepper spraying a 2-year-old child. These are extraordinary allegations, the kind that demand immediate investigation. Coleman and others have demanded the release of body camera footage and swift action from APD and local officials, using hashtags like #Justice for Linton Blackwell to amplify visibility and keep pressure on the authorities. Now, we have to be clear about something. These additional allegations remain unverified. They come from social media posts and personal accounts, not from official investigations or court findings. Details on these complaints remain limited as APD and GBI reviews restrict public access to full files. But here's what we can't ignore: the pattern. Even if we only consider the verified, official violations, we have an officer with repeated failures to follow basic procedures, particularly around body cameras. Following the shooting, Walker was placed on force usage review assignment, a non-disciplinary restricted duty that prohibits extra jobs but allows retention of his badge and service weapon. This status reflects standard protocol for officer-involved shootings with no indication of suspension or leave. The GBI has listed the incident and its 2025 officer-involved shootings log, but provided no further details, declining comments amid the ongoing probe. Their findings will be forwarded to the Fulton County District Attorney to assess if Walker's actions were justified or warrant charges. That DA is Fonnie Willis, a prosecutor known for taking on high-profile cases. The question is whether she'll pursue this one with the same vigor, or whether it will quietly disappear into the system like so many police shootings before it. Meanwhile, APD confirmed an active internal affairs investigation running parallel to the GBI's probe. Two investigations that will likely take months, maybe longer, while Walker remains on the force, and the family waits for answers that may never come. The community response has been powerful and sustained. A balloon release ceremony at DeKalb Memorial Park drew dozens of mourners, people who came to honor Blackwell and demand justice. Social media has exploded with posts, videos, and calls to action. This is sitting within a broader context that can't be ignored. Atlanta has a history of high-profile police shootings, including Rayshard Brooks in 2020. That case led to protests, policy changes, and the eventual prosecution of the officers involved. But it also revealed deep divisions in how people view these incidents. While some defend officers' split-second decisions and perceived threats, critics point to patterns of disproportionate force against Black individuals. Blackwell was, in the most technical sense, unarmed, in the front-facing sense, according to the autopsy. Family and community reactions have framed the shooting as a modern-day lynching and cold-blooded murder. These aren't terms used lightly. They carry the weight of history, of generations of Black people killed without consequences, of a system that has consistently valued Black lives less than others. Community vigils and social media campaigns continue, with hashtags numbered Justice for Linton Blackwell, amplifying demands. This isn't going away. The family and community won't let it, because they know that if they stop pushing, if they stop demanding answers, this case will be buried like so many others. What do you think about this senseless shooting? Let me know in the comment section below. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.